Well, hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the Russian Tier 4 light tank, the T-50. So, is it any good? Yeah, it's not bad. So, not a bad tank, but when I say it's not bad, bear in mind this is a scout tank. So, we'll see tanks all the way from Tier 4 up to Tier 7. That's a bummer because Tier 7 matches are really tough and you're going to spend 25% of your time there. It's also a bummer because it means you're only going to be 25% of your games in with US top tier in Tier 4, whereas with a normal tank you spend 33% of your time as top tier. So that always makes scout tanks a lot tougher. So it's hard to review them and call them good because whilst most scout tanks are good tanks, they just have tougher odds than other tanks. So this tank has 360 hit points, which is the best in class if you don't count premium. The premium Valentine 2 has 380. And the worst in class is the AMX40 with just 300 hit points. Weight wise, this thing weighs around 14 ton, which is average for a Tier 4 light tank. I wouldn't go ramming too many people. It doesn't do very well in a ram. Now this tank has a listed top speed of 52 km per hour forward and 20 in reverse, and it does do those speeds. Acceleration is kind of average-ish. It's not a super fast scout tank like the A20 is at 72 km an hour. And some of the others tanks do in the 60s. So this tank is a little slower and you can't rely on speed to escape like you can in some of the others. But it can relocate quite effectively. Now it does have a track traverse of 48 degrees a second, which is average for a Tier 4 light tank and is quite good. It's not a problem. The KHO is the best in class though with a credible 60 degrees of track traverse. The AMX40 is as usual the worst in class with just 30 degrees a second. Now as far as the turret traverse goes, the turret traverse of 50 degrees a second is the equal best in class. So the Covenanter and the M5A1 also both have 50, but the top is the A20 with 52. So we're pretty close to the top in this tank. So good turret traverse, pretty good track traverse, pretty good speed. It's a mobile, it's a good mobile tank. Now the view range is the major issue with this tank and with pretty much all Russian tanks. It only has 330 meter view range, which means that it sucks for scouting, which is a problem when it's a scout tank. So when you get to Tier 6 and 7, virtually every tank on the battlefield can see further than you. And when you're trying to spot them, that is a problem. So yeah, it's hard to survive at higher tiers. It's hard to find good hiding spots. And yeah, now the best in class is the Panzer 38T NA, which has 370 meter view range. Signal range of this tank at 630 meters though is really good. There's a few other tanks that have 641, which isn't that much better, so it's pretty close to being the best, and it's not a problem for this tank. Camouflage wise, it has average camouflage for its tier. Of course, it's everybody is way better than the AMX40 with, but the KHO is the best in class. But this one is not bad. I didn't find it was getting spotted too easily, except at Tier 6 and 7, which you just, there's nothing you can do about it. Now, being that it is a scout tank, it does maintain its camouflage whilst moving, so that's good. You don't lose your camo. Now, gun depression wise, the gun depression in this tank is pretty bad. It only has 5 degrees of gun depression, which is the worst in class. The best in class is the Covenanter, which has an amazing 13 degrees of gun depression. It has 25 degrees of elevation though, which is pretty good. Now fortunately, the turret is mounted on the front of the tank, as you can see. So the midpoint of the tank, I guess, would be about here somewhere. And you can see the turret, the center of the turret is well forward of that. And that means that the gun depression, poor gun depression in this tank isn't as noticeable as it would be in a lot of other tanks that have their turret mounted in the middle of the tank. Shermans should take note of this. That's the problem with the Shermans. They have great gun depression, but the turret's in the middle or even further back on the Shermans, and it just makes the gun depression not work as well. So yeah, the 5 degrees isn't too much of an issue in this tank. Now let's have a quick look at the grind for this tank. I started with the top radio and top engine, so I can't tell you too much about those, but the tracks take your track traverse from 44 to 48, which is good and worth it. Now you start with this VT42 gun, which is the gun you had in the T46, the tank before this. So it's kind of a bit of a letdown because that was a really good tank, a really good gun in the T46. and was very good penetration, but you get the same gun, and now we've got to go against tier 7s. It's a bit of a, you know, a bit of a bummer, but anyway. There's also an autoloader, which I'll put just here for a second. And then you've got the Top Gun. The Top Gun, or well, I suppose you call it the equal Top Gun. You could go the autoloader if you want. It's really just an upgraded version of the VT42, and it's called the VT43, funnily enough. So first of all, have a look at the autoloader, since that's a different one. It has 5 shells in the magazine, and it fires a shell every 0.33 of a second, which of course means you're firing around about 3 shells a second. 0.42 to load the magazine, which is pretty darn quick, really. And it has a 46 millimeters of penetration and does 40 damage. Now, to me, that means that basically, you know, you're not going to penetrate many tanks. You might do all right in a tier 4 match, but that's only going to be 25% of your games. So to me, it's a bit of a waste of time, unless you're prepared to spend a lot of gold or silver and use premium ammunition exclusively, which has 62 millimeters of pen. With 62 millimeters of pen, you'll probably do okay with this gun. It only has 0.45 accuracy, so that you do need to be very close range. It has a 2.3 second aiming time, which is also, I think, a little bit slow for a scout tank, which yeah, is usually quite fragile. Now, these guns here, basically the VT43 is an upgrade. And the reason it's an upgrade is it has better accuracy and better aim time. But that's the only difference. Other than that, the guns are exactly the same. They share the same penetration damage and the same reload time. So I'll get rid of the 42 because you obviously would take the 43 over the 42. So your 28.5 second reload is a fantastic reload time, and it does fire quite rapidly, this gun. 75 mils of penetration was really good in a tier 3 tank, and is not bad still for a tier 4 tank, but it's not great. So tier 7s, you pretty much can't penetrate anything except maybe in the back. And it's also, with this gun, because of the low damage, 55, it's also very difficult to track tier 6 and 7 tanks. So it's pretty hard. You really just have to go for the lower tier tanks, or try and get to artillery. You could, if you want to, use the premium ammunition with 110 mils of penetration. I didn't, but you could, and I guess you could penetrate most tanks, especially the back and probably the sides, with that ammunition. But with the low damage of 55, you have to do a lot of shots to take a tank out, so you probably find you go through your credits pretty quickly. The 0.34 accuracy is really, really good, and that's a great thing about this tank. The accuracy is fantastic, and that 2 second aiming time is also really, really good. So I know in the A20, which had the VT42, a version of it, that had an aim time of 1.9. So I don't know why the upgraded version has a slower aim time. Must be just in this tank. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about strategy in this tank. This tank doesn't have very good armor, so you cannot rely on it. Well, when I say it doesn't have very good armor, it has good armor for a scout tank. So if you come across another scout tank, you will probably, if you angle the tank, be able to bounce some shots, and I'll talk a bit more about that in Tank Inspector. So for a scout tank, it is actually pretty well armored, but of course against, you know, tiers 5, 6 and 7, it's not going to really save you at all. Now it kind of needs to have, if preferably, hard cover to move behind, and I've found that darting out from behind cover, shooting and darting back is a good strategy in this tank. Hopefully staying camouflaged whilst doing it if possible. And also using hills, popping over and shooting isn't too bad in this tank, even though it's only got 5 degrees of gun suppression. Like I said, with the forward mounted turret, it kind of negates that problem a little bit. Be careful though, the tank is fragile and it does suffer module damage a lot. Module damage, crew damage, pretty bad, so you definitely need to take repair kits with this tank. Now for the replays, you see I'll be having binoculars, camouflage net and toolkit fitted, mainly because I'm not going to keep this tank and I don't need to use gold to uninstall these modules. I have a small repair kit, large repair kit, large first aid kit fitted. My crew are not fully trained, so the first games I start with are 75%, and right now he's up to 88% trained. So bear that in mind. The reload times, aiming times will be better, the accuracy will be better when the tank is fully upgraded, and it does make a difference, a lot of difference with some tanks, so bear that in mind. I had pretty good games with this tank. I had some bad ones too, but I had pretty good games, and I think with a fully upgraded crew, this is a very good tank, and you would have some really good games. It's just the fact that it's a scout tank with crappy view range is the part that sucks. The T-50 in Tank Inspector. Let's go to the colorized view here. You can see that the lower glacis is 45mm, which is really good actually. So yeah, you'll bounce a lot of shots off that from other scout tanks. The upper hull here is 37mm, which is okay, but the plates here slope. It's easy to see without the color. These plates on the side here are sloping, so hits to those, it's at quite a good angle. So you can see there I'm getting a ricochet even with a 100mm gun. So a lot of other scouts and things can bounce off that. Even up to 100mm guns can bounce off that. This area here though, front on, it's giving me equivalent of 40 mils. Now when you consider that the gun on this, I think the auto lighter gun, this has a 46 mils of penetration, that's not bad. I mean, if you had it angled, look there, I'm getting 46 right now. So you could effectively bounce some shots from multi-cannons and things like that. Unfortunately, the driver's area is less, it's just 30. Poor driver. Sticking to the front of the tank, the front of the turret is also 37mm, so it's very consistent as far as the armor goes. And of course, you are getting quite good sloping on the sides here, so it does go up to 57, etc. So once again, we can bounce some shots from these scout tanks. The mantlet is also 37, but does overlay, but just on the edges, where it's at 37 overlaying 37, as you can see there. The cupola is also 37mm, so once again, it's consistent, so if you're getting penetrated in one spot, you're going to get penetrated everywhere pretty much. The sides of the tank is also 37, so it's definitely worth angling your tank at about a 45-degree angle to get the most out of your armor. The rear of the tank here, this section here, is 37mm, and I somehow just got rid of some of the colors. I don't know how I did that. The upper section here is 30mm, as is as is the lower section there. The top deck, which should be green right now, is 15mm, and it's the same for the cupola and the top of the tank. And the back section of the turret is also only 15mm, and this little section here is actually a bit thicker at 25. So that's about it. It's not a tough tank. It won't bounce you know, mediums or heavy tanks, but you will bounce some light tanks and scout tanks with this tank in the sort of tier 3, 4, 5 range. Now this is Arctic region. We're now tier 4 tank. It's a tier 5 game, so we've got a chance to do pretty well in this game. So have a check out the speed, and you can see that yeah, it's going pretty good, but for a scout tank of this tier, it's actually not that quick. Now this is going to be a very short clip because I want to show you two things. One, I want to show you the speed of the tank and the problem with the lowish speed as far as being a scout goes, and I want to show you the, I guess, thing you have to watch out for with this, the armor on this tank. So you can see here that it slowed down a lot getting up that hill. I decided to be cheeky. I'm going to try and make it to an advanced spotting position, which is great for a mobile tank if you can get there. I've done it many times before in other scout tanks, but as you can see here, the enemy is already here. I didn't think they would be here yet. The tank just wasn't fast enough, and as you can see there, that bastard was firing HE, and HE just took me from full health to dead in one shot. Move out. So the map is northwest. It's a tier 7 game. We're in our tier 4 Russian scout tank, the T-50. So about as bad as it can get for this tank, tier 7 game. The enemy has 4 tier 7 tanks, a whole bunch of tier 6s, a couple of tier 5s, and 2 tier 4s. Now they have an M5 Stuart and a T-50, and so do we. The M5 Stuart, you can see right now, is travelling along next to me, and he's a little bit fast, he's pulling away from me. Now I apologise if this replay is a bit jerky. It is a problem with the replay system at the moment, and Wargaming have said they will be fixing it in the next patch. I'm heading up to A1 on the map because it's a good location to spot from with reasonable protection, and also because somebody needs to scout this end of the map, because if you don't, the enemy scouts can run up along here and kill your artillery very early in the game if they don't encounter anyone here. So it's very important that somebody goes up this way. So the M5 Stuart looks like he's weighted back there near the buildings, near the road tracks there. I prefer to go for this bush just here and pull up and hide just here to try and scout them if they decide to just roll down the hill here, or sometimes when they pop up and try and shoot through the gaps in the rocks there, you can spot them from here. Now it looks like on my right there a couple of enemy tanks, an ELC and it might be a T-21, have broken through, and they're hitting our Churchill at the moment, and we've got a T-25 as well, and Churchill's just gone down. That's why I was looking over there, because I'm worried about that, because one, I'm worried about getting outflanked, and two, though, I really wanted the Churchill to make it up here, because then I could push forward with the Churchill. Oh no, the M5 Stuart has just launched on a suicide run. I managed to get a shot into the side of the Ram 2 there, so you can see tier 5 medium, we managed to penetrate the side, so it's good for this, good advertisement for this gun. Oh no, he's running straight into them all. M5 Stuart, probably the worst tier 4 scout tank, has a gun that won't penetrate much, and it's not a good tank anyway, and he runs straight into them. So now I'm here on my own. Hopefully they don't realise I'm here on my own. If they did, they could just rush me and I'd be stuffed. I'd have to run, and even then I'd be in trouble. So, oh, here we go. M5 Stuart has appeared. There you go. See, so if they come up there to have a look out and get some shots, you can sometimes spot them from here. So he obviously couldn't see me. I get a shot into him, but actually bounce. So that's not good. M5 Stuart doesn't have very good armor, unless I hit his mantlet or something, but I don't. Doesn't look like I hit his mantlet. There's a Ram 2. Oh, he just fired at me. So somehow he's seeing me and shooting me from there. I don't know how he's... My gun's not that far from the top of my turret, so I don't know how he's getting shots on me. Although he did miss. Oh, I've been shot at by the M5 Stuart, which has bounced. So I've moved back a little bit and shot on that Ram again, but obviously the Ram was spotting the back of my tank or something. So I moved back now into the bush. Now our T-25 looks like he's done a great job. It has eliminated the ELC AMX and the T-21 that were there, so he's obviously playing well. Now I might speed this up to 2 times for now, just because there's not much happening here. Oh no, we've spotted. Actually, that's not us that spotted that, that's somebody else. M5 Stuart there. But it has come into our field of view. Don't know if that hit, because he disappeared just as I fired, so I fired a couple more shots. Why we're not spotting him now, I don't know. Could be our terrible view range playing up there, but I've got binoculars and a camouflage net fitted. And I was stationary, so the binoculars should have been working. I don't know why I wasn't able to see him. Anyway, I'll speed it up again. Oh no, slow down again. There's a T-50 has appeared in that spot now, and we did spot him this time. I think we spotted him. He has returned fire. Not penetrating there. Can change to his turret. Hit a rock that time. Yep, that went in. Okay, he just hit us for 60. Now I'm just going to duke it out with him. It's the same tank as me, and he's in a much worse position than me. So as long as he's prepared to stay there, I'll just keep shooting him, even if he's shooting back at me. There we go. Eliminate him. Ah, clever. The Ram 2 has taken this opportunity to move forward. We get the first shot goes in, the next one bounces, so we're in big trouble. I'm going back behind the rock, and then I notice, oh, our T-25 has come to the rescue. That's awesome. Just in the nick of time. Now we have to save the T-25, or help save the T-25. We'll get one into the Ram there, which is great, and he explodes. I think that might have been artillery that took care of the Ram there. So, wow, that was great. That T-25 came at just the right time. He's obviously a good player, because he took care of those other 2 tanks. He came in here, he rushed forward at the right time. So I'm glad to have him backing us up. Looks like Artie took a shot at us then. So, wow, yeah, being a scout only works, I find only works well when you have some backup like that. Because if the enemy does decide to rush you, You know, your armor's not very good, your gun does low damage, it's very difficult to survive. So I saw the T-25 go to the left, so I went to the right to maximise our spotting chances, and we've seen artillery. The T-25 decides to hide. I think he was thinking of shooting the artillery through those two silos there, which was probably not a bad move. But I guessed the guy was going to run, so I just kept going. And he has run. I'm being a bit cautious, not sticking too much of my tank below this ridge line if I don't have to. I hit his track there, I think. That one goes in. Oh, the T-25's come up and got hit in as well. And we're going to get another shot. Missed. Yeah, I don't want to expose my tank too much too soon. Oh, he's gone behind the building. In case there's someone down here waiting for us. Doesn't look like we're going to get another shot on him now. Is he going to come out from the building? He's coming out from the building. As you see, rate of fire on his gun is awesome. And we take care of him. So I'm heading down here. I noticed behind me, appeared on the radar, that an M5 Stewart had been spotted. I think this guy's trying to sneak up on me. So I turn around straight away. I can't take shots in the back. He will hurt me from the back. There he is. So he actually got 2 rounds into me then. Okay, he's firing premium ammunition. Now he has a autoloader that fires 5 shots in a row. Now you can't fire 1 or 2 at a time. It fires all 5 once you press the button. So the tactic with an M5 Stewart is to move up to them with some cover, pop out from behind the cover, I shoot, penetrate him, he shoots, penetrates me, then I move back behind the cover and all the next 4 of his shots go into a wall or wherever he is he's pointing at, because I'm not there anymore. Then I know he's got a long reload, I pop out and shoot him a couple of times. So that's why M5 Stewarts, it's one of the things about them that sucks, is they're just, their gun's horrible. So, it looks like he's run. So I'm coming after him, and there's also, we've got an AMX 12T coming after him as well. And there he is. So that 12T does a wrong thing and drives in front of that 5-shot gun, and because he's firing gold ammo, premium ammo, he's able to penetrate the 12T without too much problem. So what I'm doing here is I just want to get 1 shot and then back away. Now in that case I missed. Now this time I decided to keep moving because I could see he was on low health, so I just want to get the shot in and then just keep moving. Very hard to aim that gun too when at a moving target. It just loses all accuracy and it's very hard to use. Anyway, there he goes. So now we are capping and the enemy only has a T-29 remaining, and the T-29 is a fair way away. Actually, he's now on our cap, so T-29's capping. Realistically, I'm probably not going to get to our cap before we finish capping, and I'm not going to be able to get to the T-29 to take a shot at him, which I'd like to do. I'm heading that way anyway, but it's game over. So that was enough for a Class 1 badge. Problem with scouting is that it all depends on people shooting the things that you spot. And as you can see here, we got no assistance damage at all in this game. So, yeah. We finished on top 4 XP on our team, which is pretty impressive in a tier 7 game. And damage-wise, we actually did a bit of damage as well. Yeah. Next screen, and we fired 39 shots, of which 25 were direct hits, and of the 25 that hit, 16 penetrated. So yeah, it doesn't have great pen. Obviously this tier, it's tough, and it's not super accurate, although the accuracy is actually pretty good. I was blind firing a bit as well, but it does do okay, and you can at least penetrate most tanks. Yeah, even tier 7, if you get them in the back, some of them you can penetrate, so at least there's that. I mean, that's, you can't ask for much more really from a scout tank. Hits received 6, penetrations 4, and we actually managed to bounce 2 shots, I think, from M5 Stewart. We damaged 4 vehicles, destroying 3. And what did we do? The income, as you can see, personally, I don't think that's much income in a tier 4 tank where you've done that well in a tier 7 game. It's not much income, so it's not a particularly profitable tank. 794 XP was enough for a Class 1. I did get Class 1 about 4 times in this tank, but was never able to get Mastery. So you can bear that in mind. There's probably people doing a better job than me. Also remember that my crew was not fully trained. In fact, in this game they were 77%. So they'll obviously aim time, accuracy, all that will improve quite a bit with a fully trained crew. So bear that in mind. But all in all, pretty good tank. Can, as you can see, can still do okay at tier 7. But with these low tier spotting scout tanks, you are relying on people shooting what you spot. And unfortunately, a lot of the time you can have half the team spotted for half the game and still get nothing because people just, I don't know what they do, but yeah, if you've played scout tanks, you know what I'm talking about. All right, yeah. Thank you for watching my review of the T-50. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.